So welcome Strategy Battle Gamers to another GBHL YouTube video. You're here with your host GBHL Damian, and this is my hobby vlog number 32. And this one, quite confusingly, is the first one I'm actually recording in the new year. Now I know obviously the last one was published, but as you saw, if you watched it, it was actually recorded before the new year about what I was going to get up to over Christmas. And I'm delighted to say I've made a fair bit of progress. But before I get stuck into that, I particularly want to say thanks to everyone who commented on my last vlog. The last vlog had something like 30 comments from you guys, which is awesome because the hobby vlogs don't normally get that. I think normally mine get about 5 to 10 comments or something like that. So really sincere thanks for that, because it really encourages me to keep going with these, and it helps with motivation. There were some very nice things said and supportive things said about you can get this done. So cheers for that, I appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy this journey of the next year as I try and beat my 54 model target. So I hope you had a great Christmas and Happy New Year and all that stuff. And this is what I managed to get up to over the Christmas break. I hit my target. As I said, I was going back to my parents for a few weeks and hoping to do a lot of cleaning up, and I managed to do it. So I've got two batches of models here. I've got my Champions of Erebor, which are here, and I've got some Gundabads. And I'll take a look at them all in detail and basically talk about the process a bit. So the Champions of Erebor, if you have been following along, are high up on my to-do list. And I love these models, and I now love them more than I did. Some of them really impressed me more than I thought they would. This bomber model is incredible. I liked this one anyway, but it's absolutely stunning. Really, really nice. Can't wait to paint him. He's kind of high up my list of ones I want to do, to be honest. Ori I had a bit of trouble with. He had a very badly cast face, and I've had to kind of green stuff in the nose and the beard. You can still see it through the undercoat a bit there. Hopefully I won't really know until I've painted him if I've dealt with that alright. But I did get, I sent some photos against Workshop and did get a compensation voucher, which was nice. But yeah, I think he's a better model, I think, than I thought. But he's still not down there. Barlin, I'm not all that fussed about. He's not one of my favourites, to be honest. But he's cool. But he's still, why is he only one attack? Come on. He's not right. Dory's absolutely one of my favourites. I love this model. And he's awesome in the new game. So he was always 3 attacks and 5/5, which is pretty decent. And now he gets Burly as a Champion of Erebor, or Weapon Master, and a 2-handed mace. So he's now fantastic in the game. And this model is superb. I love this one. Really, really great sculpt. Bofa. This one I think is a much better model than I thought it was originally, just by the pictures. I think it's fairly similar to his original one. He's probably the most similar, in the most similar pose to his Thorin's Company plastic one. But yeah, this is a really, really cool model. Good cast on this one. Should be good fun to paint. Nori's another one of my favourites. Really, really good. He was one of the guys who I'd say his profile takes a bit of a hit in effectiveness. Obviously he gets the defense bonus, sure, but he loses his 2-handed weapon, so his Weapon Master's rule's not as good. But really great model, probably a better model of Nori, I think, than the last one. So really likes him. Oin's another one who the model was better than I expected it to be. There's loads of cool detail in here. This is a really nice cast, loads of chainmail detail in there, and lots of different bits and bobs to kind of pick out. That'll be fun. I couldn't work out if I put the shield on right. It looks like maybe, if you look in there, oh god, if you look in there, the way the bend goes, it looks like maybe it should be the other way along his arm. But here, it kind of looked to me like it should be that way up. So let me know how you assembled yours. Have I done it right? That's another great model. Biffa was another one who impressed me more. I didn't think much at all of this, like vibe pictures on the website, but as I was assembling it, really, really liked it. Biff was one who I love painting the plastic version of, and I think the detail in his face is just fantastic. He seems to have got a really good sculpt, so there's really good lightness. Very, very good. Dwalin's a great model. I think everyone knew Dwalin was a great model. He's one a lot of people's favourites, so I decided to give him the 2-handed weapon, because I think that's very Dwalin. Dwalin smash. And he gets his 2 axes on his back as well. Had to do a bit of green stuff just to fill in the tip of his nose, which is a bit annoying, but not to the end of the world. Lovely model, very excited about painting that one. I think it looks like that'll be fun to paint to me. It's got the right sort of stuff. I like doing chainmail, I like doing that kind of leaf mail or scale mail, as opposed to plate armour, so looking forward to that. And finally Gloin, who is another one who is actually a bit better than I thought it was. Wasn't particularly inspired by this, but actually really like the detail on his face. Nice little sculpt, and I was quite impressed by this. Gloin's another one who's arguably taken a bit of a hit, I think. He does get the might point, which is great, and the defence point, but he loses his axes, his hand weapons, so he loses the ability to piercing strike without going two-handed, which was a very good attribute of Gloin's, particularly in the early game when he's got 3 attacks, high fight, and lots of might. But anyway, so there we go. Here's my Champions of Erebor. I said finally for Gloin, and the astute amongst you will notice that there are only 10 of these guys, and there is no Thorin, Feely or Keely, and the reasons for that are super secret, and I'm not going to tell you what they are. It all become clear in the fullness of time, I promise, but I'm not going to be doing those just yet, and you'll see why at some point. But yeah, they're really great models. They took a while to clean up each, but I didn't mind doing it because each one was a hero. Even though they were a group of heroes, they were still, each one was a kind of individual and was doing something different. It wasn't like cleaning up the Mirkwood Elves where you're doing the same thing again and again and again. And the casts were pretty good. There was a couple of problems, as I said. Dwalin and Balin's nose tips and Ori's face were a bit mangled, but was able to fix them. But beyond that, there weren't too many problems. And I think they're really great models. And I'm very excited about doing these, and I expect to be starting my first one of these, depending how things go, probably at the start of February. And I know I said this on the plan too, I think, although the plan hasn't gone out by the time I'm recording this, but it would have done by the time you see this. But I can now go to Throne of Skulls, and these guys are my front runner army to take the Throne of Skulls. So that's going to be my motivation to get at least some of these painted. I think my army was Thorin, Feely, Keely, Dwalin, Gloin and Dorry. I think is 600 points if Thorin takes Orcs. So that's my current thinking, that those are the ones I'm going to take. So I would expect to see these guys popping up in a hobby vlog in about a month's time. I'll be getting stuck into those, and I'm very excited about doing that. So yes, that is my Champions of Erebor. Very happy with those, very pleased, and very much looking forward to starting on the project. But I also was assembling some Gundabads, and these, I have to say, were at the opposite end of the enjoyability spectrum. These are very much like the Mirkwood Elves. For some reason, even though it's the same number of models as the Champions of Erebor, the fact they're just warriors means I'm less willing to spend that much time assembling them, and there was a lot of chaff on them, a lot of stuff to cut off, a lot of flash and those horrible fine gauge triangles, but they were pretty decent again. A few air bubbles and stuff, but nothing horrific. Here's the Mickey Mouse captain, who's quite cool. The shields, some of them are a bit dodgy. He's pretty good. And now, if you go along, what I've got is 2 packs of swordsmen, 2 packs of shieldsmen. I'll show you more detail in a minute. But at the back row, I've got the originals, and in the front, I've got my conversions. So I converted the second pack of each, so that they would have a bit more individuality on the battlefield. And so if we go down here, you'll see it's the base body is the same, but the weapons or heads have been swapped to give me a bit of variety. So I'll show you some of these close up. Tom's painted an awful lot of these over the last year, but he doesn't do hobby vlogs, so you probably haven't seen them. But if you're not familiar with these are really, really great models. I really like them. They feel very, very kind of big and bulky and imposing on in the hand. And if you put them against a dwarf, I think the scale works really nicely. They do tower over the dwarfs, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I really, really like these guys. I think this is a fantastic pose. Really, really great model. Really, really cool. You can see that they've got so many spiky bits on their armour that, oh god, with Finecast it's quite hard to tell kind of what's the flash and what's kind of spiky armour. Same sort of problem you have on Moria Goblins. This one's quite cool, although I always kind of feel like he's pointing his spear the wrong way or looking the wrong way or something. It's probably my least favourite of the poses. This guy's fun, good helmet. This sword is horrific. This fine cast sword is the same on both of them, look at that. I really have tried bending this, but I just can't seem to get it to stay in a decent position. It's another great pose, probably my favourite spear pose. It's really cool. These guys just look so solid, so intimidating. Really, really good. I think on some of these, on the spearman, look at this guy. I had to do a bit of, on this guy here, another cool pose. I had to do a bit of green stuffing around the wrist here. And you also see this kind of problem. These guys have been bent back into shape at one point before I undercoated them, but then I've put them in a skirmish case and travelled. They've been in a skirmish case for about 4 hours or something. By the time I got them out, the spears in particular were already kind of bent again. And now I know that Tom said he's had a similar thing with his, so I think that is sadly the issue with fine cast spears. But I'll try and bend them back again before I do any more painting. So let's look at some conversions. So again, that was the original, and this is my conversion. So this one's a fairly simple head swap, just to make him stand out. He's the I nicked the head off that guy at the back with the sword, and just swapped it over there. Fairly simple armour, plate armour like this really hides those kind of things. Bit of green stuff in there for the hair, and by the time that's painted, you won't see the join at all. Quite happy with that one. Next up, we've got this guy who that's the original back there, and we've got another simple head swap. So this time I took the head swap from this guy with the sword. So you can see that in the first instance, one of the things I deliberately did was try to give the swordsman's heads to the spearmen to really kind of mix them up a bit. Again, you can see this bend in the spear, but I think the conversion works quite well. You can see how easy it is just cutting that helmet off there. You can kind of see the green stuff in there, which will cover the join once I start painting it. Next up, one of the slightly more adventurous ones, where rather than just doing a head swap, I actually did an arm swap. So that's the original model back there, and I gave this model the spear, and it was from this model. So that's the original spear body, and he's got the conversion has got the sword and the shield from that guy back there, and this original sword body here has now got the spear from this guy. So that's my conversion this guy, which I think works pretty well. The only thing I had to do on this was, I could have played around with it a bit more, but to be honest I couldn't really be bothered for warriors. But to make the arms fit, you can see I've had to do a fair bit of green stuff in there. I had to get this kind of bend in the spear, just because his body is slightly narrower than the other one's body, which is a bit of a shame, but seeing as everyone else's spear is bent, I don't suppose it matters if his is. Then we've got the other end of these. These are my least favourite conversions, I think, but we've got the same guy here. So this is this guy here with a spear, but has now got a sword and shield instead, which I quite like as a pose, but again, look at this sword. Just awful. You can see it going there. But I'll have another go. I'll put it back in the water and try and fix that. This one I'm quite happy with. As I said, this was my favourite pose, and this is the conversion I did. So this is now at the other end of the first two, where their heads have ended up. So this is the head that originally belonged to that spearman. It's gone on there. I think he works quite nicely. Green stuff at the back there. Really, really simple stuff, but really breaks up the ranks, I think. And finally, from this one, who's one of my favourites, I've made this one, who I actually think is another of my favourites. Really happy with this pose. So it's the same shield arm that he comes with, but it's just been reposed, and it is the head from this guy over here. It's the head from that spearman. So just reposing the arm and giving him a different head, I think makes it look like a very different model, which is kind of cool. A little bit of green stuffing in the armpit there, just to cover that gap, and around the back. And there we go. So that is my warband of Gundabad Orcs, who are going to be painted alongside the Champions of Erebor, but they'll be done at the very least after I'm making things up as we, this 2016 box is changing as we go, but they'll be done after my Throne of Skulls Champions of Erebor at the very least. And then I think after painting like the kind of 6 hero dwarfs, I might want to break before I do these guys. So I might come and do those Gundabads then. So you can be looking out for these guys, I reckon. Maybe at some time in April I'll be painting those, I reckon. But good to get them all done, assembled. As I've said many times before, I despise cleaning up and prepping models, and it's really, really great to have all these guys now prepped and ready to go, so that as soon as I want to paint something I can just pick it up and start and not worrying about assembling it. It does also mean that I won't have to clean up another model until about June or something, which is just spectacularly good news as far as I'm concerned. So that's really good. So that's what I assembled over Christmas. What am I going to start painting? Well, if you watched my last hobby vlog, which I know a lot of people did, so thank you very much, I said I was going to start painting Gandalf and Galadriel, and I was going to do that, but actually something's already come up that's distracted me. Now, the good news is this was on my 2016 list, and if you watched that video before, one of the things I mentioned was finishing off my Thimble and Yasneg models that I base coated ages ago. I think 2 years ago I base coated them. So, if you saw the Palantir on Friday, you'll know that we've got a very special guest for this week's episode of the Palantir, and as part of that, that person's staying around to do some scenarios and play some other games, and those games require Thimble and Yasneg to be on foot, and so I thought I'd try and get them painted. So they have actually jumped to the front of my painting list, my painting queue, as it were, these 2 old base coat models. So I'm quite happy about that, to be honest, because they were on the 2016 list, they just were a lot lower down it, so it's bizarre and kind of fun and interesting to see them jump up to that. So what I'm now going to do is show you the state those 2 models are in, and then that's what I'll be working on for the next week. Okay, and here they are, the 2 models who've been unexpectedly jumped to the top of the painting queue. They are Thimble on foot and Yasneg on foot. As you can see, these guys, as I've said before, have been base coated and shaded already, and this was done the same time I did their mounted versions, which are over here. This is Yasneg mounted, I painted up, and this is Thimble mounted. You might be wondering why I've got these guys done when I don't have a Hunter Orc on me. Well, it was because a couple of years ago I wrote some new scenarios to represent things that these were in. One of them is in the issue 1 of SBG, which is the Out of the Frying Pan scenario, and the other one was the This Way You Fools scenario, which represented the dwarves trying to get to the hidden valley of Rivendell being chased by wargs, and I've got that scenario as well, and that needed Yasneg painted. So I painted these 2 guys up because I needed them for some scenarios, but never got around to painting their foot versions. So I've just been through my old One Ring work in progress thread, and I painted these guys to this level September 2013. So these guys have been 2 years, 3 months or so. They've been like this, sitting in a case somewhere and waiting, just waiting for the right time to come out. And that's this time, obviously. So I've got no idea how I painted these a couple of years ago, but I'm going to try and match these colour schemes on these guys and do their foot versions, and I will be doing these because if you watch the Palantir you'll know next week's Palantir we have a super secret mystery guest who's joining us, and they're actually going to be here for a couple of days, and we might be doing some scenarios with them, and they're scenarios that require Yasneg and Thimble on foot. So I thought I'd try and get these guys done. So my hope and challenge for this week, it's not even a week because I'm actually currently recording this on Thursday, is to get these guys painted up before the weekend, which is obviously very unlikely, but having them based and shaded does give me a start. So if I get a good run at this, a good few blocks of painting hours, I might get away with it. So when I come back in a week's time, hopefully both of these guys will be finished, and who knows, I might have even started on Galadriel and Gandalf, who are going to be my next 2 models after these. So yeah, look out for that next Monday. Hopefully 2 finished Hunter Orc heroes and a bit of work on a Galadriel or a Gandalf. Alright, until then, I hope you've enjoyed this much. Please continue this support. It was great having so many comments this week. I really do appreciate it, and I'll try and get back to everyone. As ever, don't forget to comment, like, share and subscribe. Support your Hobbit host by clicking the links below. Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Support your Hobbit hobby, and happy strategy battle gaming.